welcome to the Changes to the Team episode for Game Week 4. Before we get on to my team selection for the upcoming game week, let's take a look at the points scored in Game Week 3. At the back, a clean sheet from Ben Foster was worth 6 points as the game between West Brom and Middlesbrough ended goalless. Antonio Valencia was awarded maximum bonus points after United came away with a 1-0 win over Hull, making him my second highest scorer this week. Moving into midfield, it was an unfortunate week for Mahrez owners as the Algerian missed a penalty for Leicester, giving him a score of 0. Nathan Redmond was unable to return points at home to Sunderland, but his underlying stats were still pretty positive. He created 2 chances and took 3 shots in total, 2 of which hit the target. Redmond was also the only attacker in Southampton's front 3 to make 90 minutes, which could be an indication that his starting place is still very secure. Andros Townsend was my 1-week punt as Palace took on Bournemouth at home. The winger created 1 chance and managed 4 shots in total, but only hit the target with 1. He was taking a lot of set pieces though, free kicks and corners, so I think Townsend's returns will eventually improve once Benteke settles in. And finally in midfield, Eden Hazard scored a great goal as Chelsea beat Burnley 3-0 and the Belgian picked up maximum bonus points. He was unlucky not to get more. He took 7 shots in total, 3 from inside the area and 3 on target, as well as creating 2 chances. As for my forwards, it was 3 blanks this week unfortunately. Sergio Aguero had 5 shots against West Ham, but failed to hit the target, and after an incident with Winston Reid, Aguero now faces a 3-match ban, which will see him miss the next 2 Premier League games. Ibrahimovic had 7 attempts on goal against Hull, but also failed to hit the target with a single one, after scoring 3 goals from 5 shots in the previous 2 games. This of course was especially frustrating for me, as I sold Jamie Vardy to bring Ibrahimovic in this week. So there were some points lost there, as the Leicester striker got off the mark against Swansea. But going into this game week, Ibrahimovic was the most owned player in the game, and the most captain player, and I really didn't want to bet against him returning points against Hull. So it was more of a move to try and cover myself for the worst case scenario, and I think it did make sense at the time. And finally, Andre Gray saw very little of the ball against Chelsea. He failed to take a single attempt on goal. So it was a slightly disappointing score of 39 points this week, but it was a low scoring week all round, with both the overall average and the top 1000 average being just 42 points. So now let's take a look ahead to Game Week 4. As some of you may know if you've been following me on Twitter, I have activated my wildcard. It was always the plan really, but the Aguero suspension made it an even easier decision for me. So here's my current wildcard draft, but as always this could yet change. So be sure to follow me on Twitter, where I'll be confirming my final team prior to the deadline. But for now, Ben Foster will retain his place in goal, away to Bournemouth. With Valencia getting back late from international duty, Luke Shaw comes in to replace him. Shaw is a doubt himself, but his absence from the England squad was apparently just a precaution, and he is expected to be available to face City. West Brom's nice run of fixtures have tempted me to double up with Gareth McCauley, and I'll be starting him for the trip to Bournemouth. And Leighton Baines completes the back 3. In midfield, Mikel Antonio comes in as West Ham begin their run of good fixtures. West Ham's co-chairman has spoken about how Antonio will now be used primarily as a winger after having played right back for most of the opening games, which should hopefully free him up to build on his 2 goals scored so far. In the absence of Aguero, the in-form Raheem Sterling is an appealing option. Although he's against a tough United side this weekend, he faces a home game against Bournemouth in Game Week 5. With Arsenal's key attacking players returning and hitting form, Mesut Ozil will come into my team. Sanchez seems like the Arsenal midfielder to go for if you have the funds, but Ozil should provide good value for 1.5 million cheaper. And to round off the midfield, Eden Hazard will keep his place after his fantastic form in recent weeks, and in fact he's my favourite choice for captain option as things stand. And up front, Romelu Lukaku will be my replacement for Aguero. Everton have a good run of fixtures, and the Belgian has been putting in some good underlying stats so far. Zlatan Ibrahimovic will of course keep his place, and he'll likely be my vice-captain choice. And finally, Christian Benteke will complete the starting lineup, as Crystal Palace continue their decent run of fixtures. He seems very well suited to their style of play, and he has declared himself on penalties after Kabai's miss against Bournemouth. On the bench, after Hull made the signing of David Marshall, Jakupovic now has more competition, and so I'll turn to Jordan Pickford as my 4 million goalkeeper, who is currently starting in the absence of Manone. Etienne Capoue has been the standout fifth midfielder so far, as expected, so he comes in to replace Routledge. Jordi Amat will remain as my fifth defender, as he looks to have secured his starting place in a Swansea backline, and I'd like to be able to keep George Friend as a rotation option, since Middlesbrough, West Ham and Swansea work fairly well as part of a rotation. But that depends on whether Friend is declared fit to play ahead of this game week. With this being a wildcard draft, there will be a few small changes to the team, so be sure to follow me on Twitter, where I'll confirm my final team as always prior to the deadline. So let me know in the comments what you think to my team, whether you've activated your wildcard, and any changes you're planning on making for Game Week 4.